Hey everybody, it's Chris Loud. Today I'm doing a demo on one of the ways I try and elevate my abstract art by adding dimension with texture and layers. I'm showing you the final piece now because when you see how this starts, you'll probably think of the movie Beetlejuice. At least I did. And where it goes after that is much more chaotic than where it ends up. I started with a used 12 by 12 inch or 30 by 30 centimeter canvas just because I wanted to do something with it. I'd been sitting in my studio for a little while. But you can start with a blank canvas. And then I started by applying some Winsor blue, magenta, and a little bit of phthalo green to enhance the background with a rich, more dynamic base. I wanted to put something down that I'd be okay with possibly peeking through the layers at the end. And then once I'm done with that, I let that dry. Then I wanted to add some interest to the background, so I added some black stripes. And these aren't just any stripes. I'm kind of letting them travel from the top to the bottom in that kind of that waved white stripe there, or strip. And it kind of creates some movement and energy, and I wanted that to remain somewhat in the final painting. So after I'm done with that, I let that dry, and then I brought in some sandpaper and started kind of just scratching away a little bit. I thought the black stripes were a little too clean. Even though they're kind of messy black lines, they're not real crisp or anything, but I wanted to roughen them up a little bit. And now I'm mixing together a little bit of that Winsor blue and magenta because I wanted to have the edges of the that white a little less white, and same with really the white to me was just really kind of glowing, and I didn't really want that to be this, that bright. So I just kind of put that color all over and put some of that purplish color down and then wiped away. And so here's where it gets to what I think is kind of the fun and exciting part, is adding the mixed media pieces to this. And I started off with a little bit of cardboard, and now I'm adding some paper towels that I've used to wipe off my palettes and wipe down some paintings. And I hang on to those, let them dry, because in the worst case, they are great to use for texture or just reuse again, wiping up paint. But a lot of times, when you kind of open those back up, they have some great colors to them, and some great textures because they do have a little bit of hard paint on those. So adding those in really is a quick way to get some nice texture. But I was originally going to start with just go with cardboard, and then I brought these paper towels in and just started adding some newspaper, and I had some striped tissue paper. A majority of this you will not even see in the end. It's really about creating that texture, and I roll up some of the paper to get it crinkled again, to add a little bit of variation with some texture. I have some envelopes that I painted over, clearing my palette, and I crumple those up as well, and just to get a little bit more texture on those. I let the paper towels and some of these hang over the edge because I want those to be on the sides as well. Not everywhere, but just in some of the areas on the side. And then I'm also going to bring in the netting from a bag of oranges that I had, and I cut that out because that gives you a lot of great texture, which you'll see here shortly. And really, you can use. There's so many ways to build texture, and I think this is just kind of a fun and easy way to do it using some of the resources that you have around your house. You can raid your recycling bin and probably have really a lot of great opportunity for things to build texture. And I'm just putting this all down with some gel medium. using a paintbrush, and I'm using a lot of gel medium just to make sure it sticks, but also that gel medium can add some great texture as well. But you can buy modeling paste and crackle paste and texture gels. For that matter, you can just use gel medium and let that dry, and you can get some great textures out of that as well. But gesso, majority of the paintings, the canvases that I put gesso on, I try and put some texture down with that. But also adding sand to your gesso can really build up some great textures and using layers of paint obviously can do that. So now I'm on to this. I've let the mixed media portion of this dry. I'm adding some on my palette there. I've got some burnt sienna, some yellow ochre, a little bit of black, titanium white, and some cadmium orange. And I'm just doing kind of random mixes of those colors. And this is where I start the layering part of it. So with this, this technique can help add dimension and character to your artwork through both visual and physical texture. And there are really 3 stages to this process that I'm doing. Doing this mixed media painting style, and as I'm going through it step by step, it's the first obviously was starting with a simple background with paint, and then the second was adding that physical texture, and then the third part, which we're in, is adding and layering paint to really help elevate the physical texture, and it will add some visual texture as well, especially with that some of those really raised portions of the cardboard and the netting for the oranges. So now I'm bringing in a little bit of medium violet and mixing that with some of the other colors. You can still see it's violet, but it's kind of toned down, it's more neutral. And I'm adding those along the edges of that striped portion that runs down the middle. And that helps kind of separate the kind of under portion of that, which is the stripe portion, from the raised and elevated textured portion. But again, this is really about kind of building up those layers. I had an idea that I wanted to keep that striped portion visible, at least part of it, but the rest of this was really kind of winging it, intuitive. I'm just kind of reacting to what I'm seeing, but knowing I want to really play with those colors and play with the layering on the top level. And if you're enjoying this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, other tutorials, art demos, and art prompt challenges, feel free to subscribe. And as always, if you have any feedback or questions, if you have techniques that you like to use to build texture, feel free to leave me a comment and let me know. I know I love reading those, and I know that other viewers read the comments as well and enjoy those and get things out of it. So I'm bringing in now a silicone bowl scraper, but you could really use any straight edge for this technique, and just trying to create another kind of line. I thought at this point I could kind of do almost a crucifix composition. So I'm having a vertical line is what I'm trying to say, that I'm working on, trying to create another kind of zone of interest, but also helps kind of direct a flow to that center between there. Between the waved stripe line and then the vertical line that I've just added in. So as I started adding more colors and blending more colors, a direction started to emerge. So it's not just about painting. It's kind of, you're almost sculpting a little bit with a brush. You're trying to create some visual texture and depth that really make the canvas come alive. So I let that dry, and now I'm working with some charcoal pencil to work the edges in the middle there of that striped portion to again try and create more of a visual depth between the raised portion of that and the underpainting. Now, a lot of that is, it's almost on the same level as the initial background painting that I put down. But with this charcoal pencil and adding that does give you an impression of a separation between the foreground and the background, and a little bit more dimension and depth there. And I could have probably played with this painting for hours and hours more. I was having such a fun time with this. But at some point, I started looking at this and thinking, I like this. I need to probably step away. Although it took me a little while to step away. I'm using some sandpaper on the edges again. I felt like I needed to darken those edges up just a little bit, almost to create a little bit of a frame. So I scratched that in, and I'll bring in a little bit of darker paint here shortly and play with that on the edges. But I also wanted to play with a little bit more of the burnt sienna and cadmium orange in there, just to create a little bit more interest with some of these warmer colors. And really, overall, this painting is fairly warm with the colors I'm using. But you can see, depending on what you're watching this on, a little bit of that violet and kind of muted violet along the edges of that stripe portion as well. And that was part of that underpainting. Just trying some different orientations and seeing how those look, but also just giving a different perspective to see where I wanted to add a little bit more paint, a little bit more interest. But the great thing about working with textures like this is you can put some paint down and take a wet paper towel or a wet washcloth, or I'm using a baby wipe a lot of times here, and you wipe that over, and some of those colors stick in the nooks and crannies of the textures there, which again help add to the texture and add to the overall feel and the character of this. So here's the final painting in different orientations. So again, if you have any comments, leave those for me, and otherwise, thanks for watching, and keep on painting.